Hey, Jeff, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
Thank you.
Oh, Bonjour, good morning. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:06 a.m. We do not have our spiritual advisor here today, so I'll ask for a moment of silence, if you will. Thank you. Thank you for that. Next up, roll call.
Shane Drift,
Omar, here.
Tara Gishik. Here. Harry Drift,
Inshama papaya.
Robert.
Robert is on travel status, so he's excused. You could note that in the record. Up next, we have the approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions, deletions, discussions?
We have one addition of EJ Deegan with Fortune Bay requests. And if we could place EJ after Brad Anderson.
Okay. Any other additions, deletions, or discussions to be added? No? If nothing else, I ask for a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Up next is the approval of the meeting minutes. We will start with February 5th, 2025 first, if you want to take a moment or so to review the minutes. I have a question regarding the meeting minutes from February 5th, 2025. It's in regards to Renika Love's presentation. Have we heard anything from Renika?
Yes, she did submit an item for today's agenda. However, we needed to remove it pending legal review.
Okay. Just to follow up on the discussion that I brought up during that meeting on February 5th, 2025, how I talked about mandatory training for council members is at the last meeting or the previous meeting before that, if I recall, is that I asked for the council to look at it like as an orientation for tribal council members, so that when they get in office, or they're elected into office, especially if they're new, they'll have a good idea on what they're supposed to do and what they can't do. And our employees, when they're first hired here, they go through an orientation process. Like myself, for example, I went through an orientation process. Then when I got to the radio station, then I went through my training and how to actually do my job. So it's kind of something similar to that. I just want to reiterate my point. Also, is Jeff online?
Yep, I'm here.
The other thing too is that in that meeting from February 5th, 2025, I brought up the Bois Forte Code of Ethics and the scope. The standards of conduct contained in this ordinance apply only to events occurring after the effective date of the amendment. I also pointed out that the MCT Constitution that there is a 5-year window. So if there's an event that happens or a violation, there's 5 years that it's open. So if we could start looking at our own ethics process here at Bois Forte and get it to work in conjunction rather than against the MCT Constitution, that'd be great. And I think that we need to sit down with our ethics committee and start basically going through it and fixing the ethics process and to make it even more crystal clear, if you will. Also, I brought up that there's a civil penalty in the Code of Ethics, but there's no such penalty in the MCT Constitution. So we need to address that as well. If there are any questions for the February 5th, 2025 meeting minutes. If there are no other further questions or any questions from council, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor say aye. Opposed, silent, motion carried. Up next is the February 20th meeting minutes. A couple of things that I see here on these meeting minutes here is the vault situation regarding Fortune Bay has been posted, just so everybody's aware. Also, I did give an update at the State of the Band regarding Ushka Day. And at that time, when I gave that update, the financial update is the sales that was, the total sales that was given to me was 15,000. And then afterwards, the following day, I was given another update, which I'll be happy to share with everybody else, is that, let me pull up my information here. For 2 days of sales, they brought in about 25,000 in sales for Ushka Day. So that's awesome. And hearing the positive comments and feedback regarding Ushka Day, that is awesome to hear. Like I said in my speech during the grand opening, that with Ushka Day, it's a good day for our tribe, our band members, and our future. And if we do business the right way, this is going to be a huge game changer for the tribe. I just want to point that out, reiterate. Any questions from council on the meeting minutes from February 20th? If no questions or concerns or whatever, ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 20th, 2025. Moved by Perry, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Next up is the meeting minutes from February 25th, 2025. This was this is when we certified the candidates for the tribal chairperson election. Any questions from council?
Can you read those, report those out?
What's that?
Can you report those out after to the public
What?
after we approve them?
Yep. So if there are no other questions, ask for a motion to approve the meeting minutes from February 25th, 2025.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. What do you want to do?
Report who's going to be on the, because we usually do that in open session, but it was due that day. So if we could just let them know, you know, who's going to be on the certain committees, or will that take too long? Do you have a roster?
For the candidates, that was an open meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So can we just, we already did 1 through 6? Oh, yeah, we did. I thought we were talking about when we did the election board. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Tara, before we announce the election boards, we probably want to make sure that they pass the pre-employment tasks and that they're good to go before we announce those. So maybe.
Yep, they're not even on here, so that's what I.
Okay.
Okay. All right, moving on. If there are no other, or actually, if there are no further discussions, moving on to the consent agenda. Miranda, if you want to read it off.
Yes. Under the consent agenda, letter A, letter to Klobuchar, Smith and Stauber regarding urgent request to take action to stop layoffs of federal employees providing services to Indian country and authorizing Shane to sign, passed with a vote of 3-0-0. Letter B, request from Donald Chosa to have a ribbon skirt raffle for youth at Mid Winder Pow Wow. The vote was 3-0-0. Letter C, letter to Lisa Demuth, Erin Murphy regarding Bois Forte opposition to governor's budget proposal reducing SFIA payments. Vote was 3-0-0. And D, resolution number 72-2025, approving recommendation of Brandon Barras for licensure to teach Anishinaabemowin, Anishinaabe history and culture. Vote was 3-0-0.
If there are no further questions regarding the consent agenda, I ask for a motion to approve.
Can you explain consent agenda D? Just so nobody gets confused about the licensure and where this person is gonna teach Anishinaabemowin?
So Mr. Barras will be teaching at the International Falls School District. And in order to obtain the necessary licensure to teach that, he had requested council to approve a resolution or a letter. In this case, it was a resolution, council supporting that request. Council has done this previously in the past for other individuals.
I just have more comments too. So how that came about was Thomas Vollum. He's the Ojibwe-Moin language program director for I Falls. He's, I think, over 27 years there, might be more. But he's retiring. He's stepping down, and he reached out to me personally and asked if there was anything we could do. He needed this. He knew exactly what he needed. Just support letter from the council, and he stressed the urgency that him stepping down he just did not want that Ojibwe program to falter or go backwards in any sense. And he said Mr. Barras was the right person for the job. And so it's just proof that, you know, this tribe helps. I Falls is the state. So this tribe works and partners with other entities in the state, and it's a beautiful thing. So that's all I'm going to say.
Yep, I just didn't want it to, confused with, oh, did they hire somebody new at like school or Northwoods or any other area, somebody closer to Nett Lake or Vermilion. So I wanted to make sure that we identify where he was at. Miigwech.
If there are no further discussions on it, ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Up next is William Villebrun and Milo Villebrun regarding a housing dispute and request to return money that was paid on J Villebrun home. Are they present?
They are not.
Not present. Next, we will move on to Jesse Lambert, raffle
Excuse me?
fund.
Can we move it to the end? Or do we just not act on it? Because they're not here right now.
If they were here, my request to council would have been to table this until the next meeting. We're still researching information on at least one of the issues. So either way, we can move it to the end or table it till the next meeting.
If we don't have the information that we need, I think we should probably just table it. We'll ask for a motion to table.
Motion to table.
Motion by Perry to table, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Silent? Motion carried, table until the next council meeting. Up next is Jesse Lambert with raffle fundraiser for Vermilion Boys and Girls Club.
Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Good morning. So the Vermilion Boys and Girls Club would like to host a raffle. We would do it towards the end of May into June, and we would actually do the raffle powwow weekend on that Saturday before dinner. The grand prize would be a one-night stay premium room hotel, $75 to the steakhouse at Fortune Bay, and then one round of golf at the Wilderness for two. Second prize would be a handmade quilt by the Vermilion BGC Youth. Third prize would be a handmade dream catcher made by the Vermilion BGC Youth. All proceeds would go towards the Vermilion Boys and Girls Club youth programs, and we mainly put that stuff towards activities that they're interested in, like if they want to try something new, like make a ribbon skirt, we can use those funds to buy that stuff. Or if they want to do a field trip, we use those funds towards that. I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you for that. Jeff, any concerns from legal?
No, there is a little raffle processing form that's helpful to have that is kept internally within the tribal government. So I don't know if Jesse has that, but if not, I can get that to Miranda and maybe we can just complete that along with the raffle. It's not just a one pager.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Any questions from council? No questions from council. I ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Motion by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Thank you,
Thank you.
Jesse. Up next, we have Pam Parsons with compliance update.
Morning.
Morning, Pam.
So for the compliance update, I know we just met a couple weeks ago, but I'd like to be on the first meeting of every month. So when Nikki asked if I wanted to wait, I'm like, no, let's just get me scheduled in. So we can go ahead with what we're I can tell you about what we're working on, or you can grill me.
She's talking to me. I'll just start with the questions, Pam, if you're okay with that.
That's fine.
What is your greatest concern?
Okay, so right now, we're working on, coding and billing audits and really looking at an assessment of our revenue process. So, and that's really not a concern, but it is a concern for me as the compliance official because I'm really solid and secure on the compliance end for HIPAA, privacy, security. But now Dan wants me to move into the financial auditing. So that's what we're doing right now. And we've actually had a couple meetings. We'll be bringing back to council as soon as we determine which one we would like to go with. So that's in process.
Thank you. That's a great idea. What are the top 3 issues you're working on right now? You kind of elaborated already, but is there anything else?
Well, I'm doing some employee training. Dan also made a request this year to do some in-person HIPAA training. He wants me to make it more of a fun activity, more of a not watching a video, more scenario based, role playing based. So I'm working on that with our compliance committee. Still working on the same issues as far as our privacy and security, working with Randy to ensure that, we have everything in place that we need. Policy and procedure reviews for 2025. We got a little behind last year, so we're trying to get that all caught up. So yeah, them are the 3 things.
Okay, what are the top 3 risks you're monitoring?
So right now it's, a lot of changes happening with HIPAA. We have different meetings that I need to go to, so I need to make sure I'm on top of it. Need to make sure I'm on the listservs and reading the information that's coming down through the OIG. Reviewing their work plan to ensure that anything that's regarding tribal or IHS is addressed by me. So I keep an eye on that work plan on a monthly basis. And then security risk assessment work plan. So for every year I complete a security risk assessment, and then I do a work plan of the things that I'm going to work on for the next year to eliminate some of them identified risks.
Okay, thank you. Do you have the resources you need to fulfill your responsibilities? Money, staff, tools?
Yes, thus far, yes, I feel comfortable in that area.
Awesome. Do you have access to the people, information, and data that you need?
Yes. That has actually improved over the last couple months. So really it just needed to be a discussion, and I seem to be involved in more of the more of the programs that deal with like compliance issues. So that's a good thing.
Awesome. Do you have sufficient authority to do your job?
Yes, I believe I do.
Great. Do people listen to you, and are your concerns taken seriously?
I believe so, yes.
Oh, that's good. Are you included in meetings to discuss new strategies, projects, and initiatives to ensure they are pursued compliantly?
Yes, and that's what I think has been improving is, I'm getting called in sooner rather than later. And I'd prefer that just to address any compliance issues as they come up rather than cleaning up after. So,
Okay, that concludes the compliance questions. Anything
okay.
else?
Nope, that's it. So I did want to let you know, I do have a training this afternoon for our class grant. And I get to kind of brag about what we've done with the class grant as far as the language signs, our powwow grounds accessibility plans. So I will not be at executive session.
Okay, thanks for
All
letting us
right.
know.
Okay. All
Thanks,
right.
Pam.
Thanks, you guys. Thanks for all your hard work, you guys.
Yep, thank you, Pam.
See ya.
Up next is Brian Waitman Senior. First one is the agreement forms from Tanksco for a project of a 150,000 gallon single pedestal water tower rehabilitation.
Good morning. First of all, we'd like to present this that would be C, contract with Bolton Maine for Vermilion water improvements. So that would be the first item. They're sort of misleading on the paper here. Introduce me. And this is Catherine Conway with IHS, who the engineer who makes the projects possible for Bois Forte. And also Mike Chimont should be online, maybe. He also makes an engineer too for projects for Bois Forte. Get started and going.
There he is.
Yeah, there he is right there. Yeah. So first of all, I'm seeking approval for, that would be C, contract with Bolton Inc. for water tower improvements. That's that 27 page on the bottom. If you can scroll, you'll see.
Okay, now we gotta, now, hold on, we gotta scroll around. These are all in sequence. So
Yeah,
now we gotta scroll down to letter E. One of my first question is for our legal, while we're busy scrolling down. Jeff, is there any concerns legally?
Yeah, thanks, Shane. No, I don't have any concerns. On all the contracts with IHS that you'll look at and with Brian presenting today, coordinated with Brian and Michael and Catherine at IHS to take a look at them at the bidding stage and at the contract stage to make sure we've got things like, immunity clauses, TARO compliance, and kind of all the other procurement issues that you need to incorporate. And so they've been great to work with, and I've taken a look at all these, so I don't have any legal concerns.
Legal concerns? Any concerns from Kim Grant and Financial?
No, the only thing we were looking for was official approval from the tribal council.
yes.
Yep.
Okay. Any questions from council? No. If no further discussions or whatever, ask for a motion to approve the contract with Yulin Brothers for Nut Lake wastewater system improvement.
No,
So this is the contract with Bolton and Meek for
Oh,
professional
Bolton,
services.
Nut Entry for Vermilion Tower, water tower improvement, sorry.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor say aye. Opposed, silent, motion carries.
okay, next item I have here is a notice of award for the Bolton Mink project.
But it's for Tanksco. It's item B but it should be notice of award to Tanksco Incorporated.
What's approval for Shane Drift to sign?
Okay, now I gotta scroll back up, hold on.
Yep.
Okay, I think I'm on E. There's a lot of documents in here, but it's C. And then B, okay, here we go. And this is the one for 525,775?
Yes.
Okay, any concerns with that one, Jeff?
No, this is a notice of award after it was competitively procured. So this was in compliance with the band's procurement policy. And I coordinated with IHS to make sure that, the bidding documents and everything complied. So no concerns about the notice of award for me.
No concerns from Kim, no concerns from Kim. Any discussions from council?
Just that the agenda reflects that it's notice of award to Tanksco Incorporated
Okay,
instead of Bolton.
okay, if you could make that note change, thank you. If no further discussion, I ask for a approval to Approve the notice of award to Bolton and, Mank for Vermilion Water Tower improvements.
Thanks, go.
Move.
Moved by Perry, is there a second?
Second, the notice of award is for Tanks Co. Incorporated.
Yes.
Okay. Second by Tara, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. What's up next?
Next up is agreement forms with Tanks Co.
Item A.
Item A, yeah.
And that's for the 150,000 gallon one?
Yeah, the same.
The
That's
same
better.
as the notice of award, just the contract for it.
Yeah,
Let's go back up here.
item A.
Okay, here we are. Kim, I got a question for you. Now, under liquidated damages, letter A, subsection, 1, where it says contractor shall pay owner 1,450 for each day that expires after the time as duly adjusted pursuant to the contract. Do we have it in the budget to keep going after the contract expires? Can the budget continue? And if so, how long?
I have not seen the contract or read it, so can you read that statement? It's,
What it says here is that contractor shall pay owner $1,450 for each day that expires after the time as duly adjusted pursuant to the contract.
so if they don't complete, the way I understand liquidated damages is if they don't complete the budget or the project on time, they have to pay us that every day.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
all right, I got it.
Correct.
Any concerns from, legal?
Nope, no concerns.
Any questions from council? If no questions from council, then I ask for to approve the agreement with tanks for the project of 150,000 gallons water tower rehabilitation project.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. What do you got next, Brian?
Next up, we have D, notice of award with Ewan Brothers, which Kathy,
E?
chairwoman, signed.
Now I gotta scroll all the way back down again.
Yeah.
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 it's- Okay, oh, that's way down there. Now, this is for the contract for 2,984,779. Okay. Any concerns from legal?
For the notice, this is the notice of award you're looking at, correct? Is that
Okay.
what we're on? I'm just making sure I'm looking. Is that what we're on, the notice of award?
Yes, with
Yep.
Ewan Brothers.
Okay. Yep. No concerns. This was, again, in terms of the notice, everything that preceded this were, the bidding documents and specs, and those were all in compliance with the band's procurement policy. So no concerns.
Okay. Any concerns from Kim? No concerns from Kim? Any discussion from council or questions?
I just have the distinction that A, B, and C were for Vermilion, right? And
Yeah.
then we got D and E for Net Lake water. Okay.
Lagoon project.
If no further discussion or questions, I ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Up next is the notice of awards to Yulin Brothers for Net Lake wastewater system improvements.
This would be the agreement between owner and contractor for construction of Human Brothers.
Which one?
Number E, the contract, the agreement, it's the same thing as the notice of award. It's just a different legal document.
Okay. Same questions to Jeff. Any concerns legal wise?
Nope, I reviewed this as well. It's a big project, but all the specs and stuff were developed and everything is good on the contract side in terms of immunity, TERA compliance, and other things that the protect the band's interests. So no concerns on my end.
Any concerns from Tim and accountant? None? Any questions from council? If not, then I ask for a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Can you guys give me just really quick A through C in layman's terms and what you will accomplish and if you're gonna take care of the whole Vermilion need?
So it's the Vermilion Water Tower is in need of some improvements. It's got some damage to the paint. It has some damage to the safety climbing systems. There's some various other components within it that are either not up to spec or actually damaged. And so this is it's largely most of what we're doing is a regular maintenance that you have to do like every 20 years or so on a water tower.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure that you were explaining A through C and if there was any other damages, if it takes care of the whole problem,
It should, hopefully. The contract with Bolton and Mink is for professional services where they're going to be, IHS is not qualified to do, or my office is not qualified to do all of the engineering services for it. So Bolton and Mink is providing some of those, and then the others are for the actual construction.
Got it. All right. Thank you.
So Bolton Mink has previously worked with Lower Sioux community and Shakopee on their water tower projects, which they did an awesome job. So with them guys.
Good. All right. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
Up next, we got Kim Griner for resolution number 75 2025, bill of sale and certificate of title to W. King. You have the floor, Kim.
One thing I'd like to add on the water tower project, that water tower over there is probably approaching 30 years old. So she said you usually do it 20 years. Yeah, so that's approaching 30 years.
Thank you.
Wow. So the first item is approve a bill of sale for the W. King House, a resolution. Do you want a little bit of history of that house or program? Or just approve the bill of sale?
Well, the question I have, if you look at the third whereas in the resolution, it says the band entered into a contract for title with William Ashley King. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Any questions from council?
A little history would help me. I mean, I haven't.
So this house was owned by the MCT and it had a failing foundation, so they couldn't resell it. They gave it to us and then we entered into a home loan with Mr. King. He paid off the home loan, so now we're giving him title.
There we go. Okay.
No concerns from Jeff?
The documents that are up for approval are a bill of sale and a certificate of title, like a deed to the home, and those are what are referenced in the contract that upon, successful payment of the price, the band would provide these two documents. So no concerns on my end.
Okay. Any further questions from council? If no other questions or discussions, I ask for a motion to approve resolution number 75-2025, bill of sale and certificate of title to W. King.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Up next, again, is Kim Granite for a presentation on unemployment.
Can I just really quickly, when all this process is done and we do the signing, make sure that those documents get to Realty for record. Which,
Up next is Kim on a presentation on unemployment compensation for tribal council elected officials. You have the floor.
Yeah, I need to have Nikki allow me to share. I have a PowerPoint. I need Nikki to let me be able to share. Okay, all right, what happened there now? Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, get back to the beginning. Kind of acting. Well, it's just not catching up as fast because it had a title page. In your packet, it has a title page, doesn't it? Well, I'll start out with the resolution. So the original resolution was in 2002. I was incorrect at a previous meeting saying the state didn't allow it, but looking through the notes, it said the federal something law. So I wasn't 100% sure on that. Yeah, so it says here, changes in federal law making the elected officials of tribal government ineligible for unemployment compensation makes it appropriate for the RTC to establish a policy that provides a severance benefit. And then so two things happened in this resolution was the establishment of the unemployment, which they use the word severance there, and then the compensation at that time. So now be it resolved that the tribal council here adopts the following policies regarding council members' salaries and benefits, of which all shall be subject to availability of funds and shall not be effective until the RTC made determination the cost is within the budget. So that's the salary. Then it says persons appointed to fill a vacancy shall be paid at the base rate, and the base rate shall increase annually by the increase approved by the council for other employees in that year, provided the RTC member no RTC member shall receive an increase until the beginning of the second year that they're in their elected office. So then
I need to, first of all, that one about the council member receiving, like me, I'm filling in as acting.
mhm.
I don't, that policy doesn't pertain to me because I'm only filling in as acting. I'm not appointed to the position to finish out the term. So that policy doesn't apply to me. Secondly, I want to point out is that even though the policy, the resolution calls for a council member to get a yearly increase after their second year in office, I have not received that increase. And I do believe we did take that out. That was changed.
This is the first one with the salaries. And then there's a second one somewhere in between that increased the salary amounts. So this is the very first one back in 2020 or 2002. And then there's another one in between that just changed the salaries. But I was focusing on unemployment.
Okay, I just want to point that out because
Yeah.
I don't want people jump to
Yeah.
the conclusion, oh, Shane said he's getting this. No, we see that he's getting a pay raise. No. So I just want to point that out. Thank you.
Yep, and so that's why I just, because I have the resolution and that was in there, so I was going through to get to the unemployment. So,
What we probably should have done is highlighted the years,
yeah,
you know, because you're talking about past, you're talking about
yeah,
2002 and a little bit forward of that.
yeah, and I was asked to do the history, so I started at the beginning. And so, the tribal council unemployment compensation is the RTC will establish an account to which make contribution on a regular basis. So we, instead of paying the RTC's council's proportion like we pay to our self-funded state program, we contribute at the same amount, but it doesn't always cover because there's a lot more there's only 5 people contributing a year in there. So contributions to the fund shall be calculated provided 60% of an RTC member's pay for a period not exceeding 26 weeks. And then the RTC shall establish criteria and limitations for this unemployment benefit, but in no event shall a member who has been removed from office for any reason other than physical or mental incapacity be eligible for this benefit. And there was no, until recently, there had, other than one change came, they changed the base rates for salary, which is not related to unemployment, and then the health benefit. On here, it said, health benefits, unless otherwise provided by applicable law, council members shall receive medical and dental coverages for RTC expenses for themselves and their dependents and family coverage. We never did that because it was made it non-taxable. The non-taxable part of unemployment or health insurance for all the other employees would become taxable benefit type thing. And so we never did that. And along the way it got changed. So that's not there. So the years the fund has been accessed. So I went through and gave a history of just by position, what year those positions had accessed the funds. So and so it was after 20, in 2002. It's hard to say 2002 when I want to say 2020. So in the a chairperson accessed it in 4 and in 16. The secretary treasurer in 22. In District 1, it was in 2010, and then the council elected to extend that in 2011 and 2018. And then the other District 1 position was in 5, 12, 16, and 24 that the program was accessed. In District 2, it was in 2002, 6, 18, and 22. So those are the times the funds have been accessed. And then, like I said, in 2026, they removed the part that, what was it? They removed the provide, it says, not furthermore be it resolved that the section C for health benefits be removed to the fact that this section makes the health insurance plan a discriminatory plan under IRS regulations. So that was removed, that part about health benefits in 6. And then at the last tribal council meeting, there was some changes. And so there was the resolution that had changed the I didn't put it in here because I was focusing on unemployment, not that stuff, but that's the salary schedule for the tribal council. But so let's go to unemployment.
The RTC will establish an account to which it will make contributions on a regular basis to fund unemployment contribution. That stayed the same. Contributions to the fund shall be at a rate calculated to provide a benefit of 60% of the RTC members' pay for a period not exceeding 26 weeks, which period shall not be extended under any circumstances. So the period, no extensions, that's new. And the members' annual leave shall be paid out in lump sum on the next regularly scheduled payroll following the members leaving office. That's new. After which a member's unemployment benefit will begin on the second regularly scheduled payroll following the members leaving office and shall continue being paid biweekly for a period of 26 weeks, subject to the restrictions and limitations herein. That's new. So this stayed the same. It says the RTC shall establish a criteria and limitations, but no event shall a member who's been removed from office for any other reason other than physical disability or mental incapacity be eligible for this benefit. Okay, to be eligible for this benefit, the member must have served in office the first 4 of the 5 last quarters completed. So that's new, and that follows like the state of Minnesota rules for everybody else. You have to have wages in the last 4 of the 5 quarters to be eligible for unemployment. A member who fulfills his term in office but chooses not to run for re-election is eligible for the benefit provided the member satisfies all the eligibility requirements here outlined. And so the new eligibilities, and then a member eligible for this benefit must remain unemployed during the 26-week period following the member leaving office in order to remain eligible for the benefit. If the member becomes employed during this period, the member must immediately notify the Director of Human Resources and shall no longer be eligible for the benefit after the date the member becomes employed. For this purpose of this requirement, employment is defined broadly as employment in any capacity, including part-time employment, full-time employment, self-employment, temporary or seasonal employment, or other forms of employment. That's new. And then this one also is new here. Number 7, if a member receives any benefit for which he or she is deemed ineligible by the RTC according to the rules outlined herein, the member shall return the benefit for which he or she is deemed ineligible to the tribal government within 30 days of a written request for return. Failure to timely return the benefit shall result in garnishment of the member's per capita payment in the amount of the debt owed. That's new also. And I have by fiscal year the amount. So it crosses a fiscal year. So this is how much it was charged to the unemployment fund by each year. So there are some years it was never accessed. So you can see the total starting in 2002, and that's the compensation, the payroll taxes, indirect cost for the total. So you can see each year. So I'll pause for a minute. So if someone wants to online review them. So this first page is 2002 through 14. And then the second page is 15 through 25, because we are currently in fiscal year 25. And so you can see the total. So the total cost over that period of time. Yes.
Can you explain why some of those years have a payroll tax amount and the others do not?
Oh, yes, I forgot. I was going to do that. Because there was the only payroll tax that's paid on this is Social Security and Medicare tax. And there was a period of time there was an old revenue ruling from the termination era that said elected tribal officials are not allowed to participate in Medicare and Social Security. And so before they had, let me scroll up, I can kind of hone in on the date. So somewhere between 2009 and 10, or it was probably an 8, the federal, the IRS came back and said, even if we contributed for those people, you would not get credit for your benefits. So we stopped paying in. And going forward, it did. And then around, I think it was 21 or 22, excuse me, I said IRS, Social Security Administration. Social Security Administration came back and gave tribes the one-time opportunity to elect to participate or not participate in it. And the council at that time elected to go back into participating in Social Security and Medicare. So over 24 years, the total cost with everything was $532,510.10, which averages out to $22,187.92 for the unemployment program for the tribal council.
Now, prior to them starting this back then in 2002, were they receiving it prior to it, before they started this?
Not through us. They were eligible to apply with the state of Minnesota and get as a normal employee would be. So like, if you left office, you left office, you went to the unemployment office and employed. Up until 22, they were allowed to access that program from the state because they administer it, not us.
So then they, if I correct me if I'm wrong, you said it was the federal government that stopped this. So then the tribal council at that time went ahead and created this one.
Yep.
And I must commend the tribal council that did that. That was smart, because basically, if they wouldn't have did this, what they would end up doing is saying, okay, you're done service, kick them out the door. And then they would have had nothing. This way they have something to fall back on, and then find an employment somewhere else if they could. So I commend the council that had created this, and I think it was a good idea. Still is.
Any other question? For some reason, my first 2 slides don't come up, and I know one is a title page and I don't know what was on the second one. I don't know if there was something that I missed in my presentation that was on the stuff that was submitted with the agenda.
Well, getting back to this here, I think one thing is a couple of things actually. I need to commend the council, the tribal council, as being more transparent and really putting the information out there for band members to see. And as we continue to become more transparent, as an example, a lot of the resolutions that are going to pertain to the tribal council are going to be put on the tribal government website underneath the tribal council, so people can go on there, log on and see what resolutions pertain to us as a council. And the other thing, getting back to this unemployment and salary thing for the council, is that I asked for anything that pertains to the tribal council, salary, increase, unemployment, be discussed in open session for band members to see, to make that a requirement. Because if we're going to be talking about transparency and transparent, then we need to be, plain and simple. And like I said, I commend the council on doing that. You guys are doing an awesome job and becoming more transparent with our band members so they can actually see what has been done. Any questions or council discussions from council?
Yes, I have one. I see 2 very large amounts that were paid. Does a past tribal council member's salary reflect how much they will get in the unemployment?
Yeah, it's 60% of your outgoing salary.
Okay, and yeah, so I think that one I seen was from 2023, and the other one is from 20. There's a few of them that are pretty large.
Yeah, and we went through the salaries before. you know, and some people have larger salaries, but like in 2022, there was also 2 council members that had received, you know, because there was a district one and a secretary treasurer. So, you know, I didn't specifically go through and identify by people or anything, you know, names or anything. So there was a, you know, there's a couple of factors like that. If 2 people left or if someone had been in office for a long term and they, you know, prior when they were getting increases, you know, so their salaries were higher.
So getting back to that point is that when did the tribal council stop doing the yearly increases? I know it was well before I got on council, I know that.
It was, Miranda helped me. It was when we froze everybody. It was at 16.
That was, I want to think that was 14,
Okay.
15
somewhere,
maybe?
Yeah,
I thought it was, I thought it was like either 2012 or 2014 when, I think it was when Colin Chosa was on council.
I just don't remember off the top of my head.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Sorry.
I
Yeah,
want
so-
to think it was 2012.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm like 98% certain it was 2012.
But with the council, there was a certain set of people too that was froze, right? As certain. levels,
There
or
was some, I believe if you made over 50,000, you were only eligible for a 3% increase. So we called that like the cool down
Yep.
period or, level. And then if you made 70,000 or more,
Okay.
you were frozen, but only if you were a director or senior management and council. Because
Okay.
there were middle managers who got to the $70,000 amount and were able to still receive their increases during that freeze time.
I remember that, when we gave the, directors and all that, they start getting their increases back and getting back to their original salaries. The council at that time didn't do it until, everybody else, all the employees and all that went back to their original salaries. And, I can't remember when the council went back. Was it 2019?
It was about 22 when you went back to participating in the Social Security and Medicare, because Social Security and Medicare, there's a deduction part for an employee and a benefit side for a tribe, you know, the employer. So that it was about 2022 or 23.
Okay. And, I'll just like to reiterate again, my point is that about the, council getting a yearly increase. I never got one. And, since I've been on council. So, just to clarify, any other questions from tribal council?
I just want to make a few remarks about this, that a few months prior to this, I had gave band members a little hint. Ask about the distribution of wealth. We're becoming more transparent. We're letting people know. But we, as a council, you know, I'm just gonna say it, you know, that was very true. That my first months in office, when we first started discussing our raises, before we decided that we were gonna go into the open and do it, that as a young guy, you know, I'm not kidding. Like I could have really raised my salary to 48,000 if I would have voted for it, but I didn't because, you know, seeing with the data we just learned in the last meeting, 54% of Bois Forte band members live paycheck to paycheck. But now you present and you see some of this data and you see that the distribution of wealth is off. So that's all I'm gonna say. You know, band members keep asking questions and you will find out. Hey boy, Milo.
Can you guys try to figure out exactly what those annual increases when they stopped? you know, which,
Yeah.
the exact dates for that, so then your report is complete.
Mhm.
Whatever frozen salaries or however that tier system went, you know. And I just like to comment that I just wanted it straightened out, you know, and giving actual figures on how we can kind of tighten it up so it isn't prolonging the accounting system. It was being prolonged in a way of a council member could use their annual leave and then just get paid, you know, until that annual leave runs out, and then the unemployment would start. So then then our accounting system is, you know, I don't know how long that would be, you know, the 26 weeks, and then however long their annual leave was, you know, you'd have them on the books for I don't know how long. So
That-
we're shortening that system and that compression on accounting to keep, you know, keep them on the books. So then you can free up time to do what you need to do rather than watching to make sure council gets their um what I would deem as a severance package, you know.
And if you go back and read the minutes a long time ago, they talked about using the word severance or unemployment in the meeting minutes of what they wanted to use.
So now there's more structure.
Mhm.
Accounting gets them off the books a little bit quicker, you know, and then they can look for a job or whatever a little bit sooner. Um, I just want to put the pressure off of accounting to keep that on your books. That's what I wanted to make sure. And then put a whole definition and structure system to the unemployment.
And when I do not display my presentation, the only page is missing is the title page. It shows up here, but when I share, it doesn't show.
And then Kim, did you ever report on this before in a council meeting or?
Not in a council meeting.
Okay,
The only time I shared information about it in any kind of formal setting was um, in my State of the Band presentation. I had just the cost of the program listed in there, and that's where I would get questions from those people in that session. That, you know, that everybody had a mixed thing. And then the other thing I used to do with this is I used it as I used to teach at UMD in the tribal finance program, or the MTAG program. And I would put it out there at, you know, like an ethical budgeting question, you know, like, well, who should pay for it? Should they have it? You know, stuff like that. Just an exercise to teach the students to think, and you're making decisions that impact and people, and opinions, you know, everybody has different opinions on it. So it's interesting to see what everybody thinks.
that would be interesting to see. I'd like to see that.
I think, you know, you bring up a good point in about, you know, making decisions, especially as a tribal council. Like I said at the state of band, you know, your point of view needs to change once you get elected. Prior to running, I was against the huge salaries. Then when I got on tribal council and started looking at it from a tribal council's standpoint, is that who's going to want to come and work at Bois Forte for a salary that's not really that great, when you can get a better salary in Virginia, Hibbing, Cook, or whatever. So my point of view changed, and then my stance changed. Because if we don't hire the people that we need, what good are we? And we can't provide the services to our band members. So I'm in favor of retaining our employees, looking at ways to increase our salaries, not the council salaries, but our employee salaries, and moving forward. I know that a lot of the decisions that I've told the tribal council, it doesn't matter what the type of decision that we make, so long as we make a decision and that it doesn't matter, someone's going to be upset with it. That's a given. It's not good. Everybody's not going to be happy. Someone's going to be mad at it. Some people ain't gonna like it. That's just the way it is. And hopefully we can keep moving forward and keep being more transparent to our band members. Brenda?
While we were sitting here, going through the meeting after the agenda was, passed, we did realize that we failed to add the updated unemployment resolution. And just a few minutes ago, you had discussed how council wants, salaries, information in open session. That was revised in the unemployment resolution that was passed at the last meeting. The revised unemployment resolution was supposed to be on today's meeting. So two things, I guess. One, council can add that to the agenda, or we can put that on the next agenda.
I think that we should add it onto the next agenda and then have it available to put on the screen so people can see it. And then after we're done with it, put it on the tribal government website.
Okay, we can add that to the next agenda, and we are working on getting those resolutions on the website. Randy, do you have maybe an update of when that would be completed?
As soon as we receive them, we can put them on the internet or on the webpage, probably the same day or 2 days' time.
So talking with Nikki just now, she said they need a little bit of clarification from council. So we'll add that to the Monday morning meeting. And then hopefully by mid to the end of next week, that will be completed.
That'd be awesome. Thank you. If no further discussions on this, on the unemployment, we move on to the
Randy,
next thing is, thank you, Kim. Randy Long, letter of support to Northeast Service Corp. Co-op, sorry. I don't have my reading glasses on. Did you give a copy of this to Jeff?
Yes, Jeff previewed it.
Okay,
I have removed one paragraph in it, but it's identical to what Jeff has removed. What I have before you today is just a request to do a letter of support to the Northeast Service Co-op. Northeast Service Co-op and Bois Forte has partnered with each other's along with Fond du Lac and Grand Portage in 2010. We went after a $46 million RUS fiber to the home project that brought fiber optic connectivity to the Net Lake and Vermilion sectors, as well as Fond du Lac and Grand Portage. What they're looking at doing is going after grant funding to purchase the Laurentian Environmental Center north of Brett. I've never been to the facility, but their intention is to provide school-related activities, mental behavioral health related activities, and tribal government or cultural related activities at this site if they're awarded. There will be no financial contribution or request on behalf of Bois Forte. If awarded, though, they would like to come up and meet with Bois Forte in anticipation that Bois Forte could probably guide them from a cultural perspective on how best to develop that site that Bois Forte could utilize in the future. So if there's any questions, just let me know.
thank you for that, Randy. Any concerns from Jeff?
No concerns. I think Randy, you can confirm, but there's no financial commitment from the band on this. This is just purely a letter of support supporting the application for the grant, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so no concerns on my end.
Any questions from tribal council? If
I have
no-
a few.
Oh, Go ahead.
So this is just a letter of support, no contributions from Bois Forte. It'll be located at the LEC, just north of Virginia, somewhere around there.
Just north of Brett.
Britt, I'm sorry. Okay, I just want to make sure that, since it's the 1854, bands that are asked for this letter, are you asking Grand Portage and Fond du Lac, or have they
I
already?
believe they reached out to Grand Portage and Fond du Lac. My request is just to Bois Forte.
Okay. I just want to make sure that services, by 1854, and I know that's nothing that you can totally confirm, but I want to make sure that, Vermilion and Net Lake still receive the same services, um, from 1854 or any locals or anything like that. And that there aren't any service fees when Bois Forte band members go there for anything, there isn't any entrance fees or any kind of things like that. It doesn't say it in this letter or anything, but I'm just asking that. And then, I just don't want us to run into, it's easier to provide services or a demonstration at LEC rather than coming all the way to Vermilion or rather than coming all the way to Net Lake. Do you understand what I mean? Is I don't want that to be the hub for our band members and then we have to transport, all the way there. I just want to make sure that doesn't happen.
Sure.
Very much.
Any further discussions? If not, ask for a approval for a letter of support to Northeast Service Co-op.
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Terry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Miranda, if we could get this in on a tribal government letterhead web thing and then put it into DocuSign and I could put my Jeff Holt on it.
Yes, will do.
Just kidding, Jeff. Can we take a 5-minute recess? I got a call, had a call regarding my dad. Thank you. Are we good to go, Nikki? All right, call the meeting back to order at 10:32 a.m. Up next is Miranda.
So the first item under me is resolution number 76-2025 regarding the impacts of Executive Order 14210 on Indian programs. So what this resolution is, what it's stating is that the band formally supports the withdrawal of the OPM memorandum directing the termination of probationary federal employees. There's a bunch more after that. Would you like me to read that? The bottom.
I kind of wonder if we should just post this, if we can post it on our tribal government website, social media.
I can kind of summarize to council if that'd be helpful.
Yes, please, because this is really long.
Yeah. So this specific resolution just outlines over the past kind of month some of the efforts taken in response to the Trump administration's executive orders that are cutting federal funding and specifically probationary federal employees. And the resolution sort of gets to specifically cuts in those areas and programs that are particularly important for tribes in Indian country. So IHS, BIA, and Bureau of Indian Education programs specifically, and is essentially emphasizing the importance of maintaining those federal employees and those programs for the benefit of not only Bois Forte, but all tribes around the country. So that's what this resolution gets at, and it sort of outlines all the ways in which these cuts have been happening and the band's essentially the band's position to stop and halt those cuts.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions or discussions from council? If not, I ask for a approval to approve the resolution number 76-2025 regarding impacts of Executive Order 14210 on Indian programs.
Move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor say aye. Opposed, silent, motion carried. What do you got, Miranda?
Next, we have resolution number 77-2025, supporting the advancement of educational outcomes for Native children and upholding the federal trust responsibility to protect tribal education programs.
Can you make a statement on this, Jeff, in a nutshell?
Sure. Yep, and so I think this was forwarded. There's efforts for tribal educational organizations around the country, and I think this came through Vonda with 477 to, for tribes to take public positions about, support for tribal education programs, whether that be general education programs, 477 programs, tribally chartered schools, Bureau of Indian Education schools. So this resolution kind of, it relates to the prior one, but it specifically walks through the importance of Department of Education, Bureau of Indian Education programs for tribes, what those programs are, the importance of them for tribal education, and then again, just reemphasizes that upholding the trust responsibility is continuing those programs without, the cuts, both the federal employees and the funding that we've been seeing. So other tribes have been, adopting similar positions, and this would be a resolution that where the band takes a formal position supporting those tribal education programs and urging the federal government to maintain their funding levels.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions or discussions from council? If not, ask for a motion to approve resolution number 77-2025, supporting the advancement of education outcomes for Native children and upholding a federal trust responsibility to protect tribal education programs.
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried.
Next, we have resolution number 78-2025, urging formal consultation and protection of funding for tribally controlled schools.
I can summarize this briefly too.
Yes, thank you.
This also came through 477 and Vonda. This is a little bit more targeted. Obviously, it relates to tribal education. One of the Trump administration's executive orders, 14191, basically is an executive order that attempts to expand school choice. So, vouchers and different school choice options around the country. There's concerns throughout Indian country about the effect of that executive order on tribally controlled schools, including Bureau of Indian Education schools, and how that might impact funding for those schools. So this resolution basically, consistent with the federal government's trust responsibility, requests that the Department of Interior and the Department of Education consult with tribes on the impacts of this executive order on tribally controlled schools before, any measures are taken to reduce funding, reduce staff, and make other cuts to tribally controlled schools. So, promotion of tribal consultation before anything were to occur, to make sure that the administration's actions don't negatively impact tribal education. That's what this resolution that's the summary for this one.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussions or questions from council? If no questions or discussions from council, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Motion by Perry, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara, all in favor say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Up next, Miranda.
Next, we have resolution 79-2025, the SORNA exclusion process. Would you like me to read the steps and the process that is laid out in this resolution?
Yes.
Okay, it is lengthy, so bear with me. So I'm going to start at the now therefore be it resolved, the second one from the end of the resolution. So it states, now therefore be it resolved that the RTC establishes the following protocol for enforcing section 803B. Number one, any person who believes that a sex offender is or may be present within the band's territorial jurisdiction should inform the band's SORNA compliance officer. Two, the SORNA compliance officer, in coordination with the tribal prosecutor, shall collect all appropriate information and determine if the individual satisfies the definition of a sex offender, as that term is defined in the band SORNA code, if the individual is a band member and whether the individual is present within the band's territorial jurisdiction. Number three, if the individual is a non-band member sex offender who is present within the band's territorial jurisdiction, the SORNA compliance officer shall send a notice of exclusion along with any supporting documentation to the RTC. The notice of exclusion shall include at a minimum, letter A, a notice of the offender's temporary exclusion from the band's territorial jurisdiction for as long as the person remains a sex offender as defined under the band's SORNA code, or a period of 10 years, whichever comes first. B, a statement that the RTC may renew an exclusion that expires after 10 years upon a finding that the offender poses an ongoing threat to the health, safety, or welfare of the band or persons residing within the band's jurisdiction based on an assessment of 1, factors to be determined by the RTC, and 2, any submissions or statements provided to the RTC by the offender who shall be provided notice and an opportunity to be heard regarding the decision to renew, and C, the exceptions to the exclusion, D, the consequences of violating the notice, and E, the offender's opportunity to challenge the exclusion in writing within 15 days of the notice being served by submitting via U.S. mail or email a written challenge directed to the RTC specifying the reasons the offender does not satisfy the definition of a sex offender under the SORNA code. 4, if the RTC finds that the individual in question is subject to exclusion under section 8.03B of the SORNA code based on the documentation submitted, the RTC will approve and execute the notice of exclusion and return it to the SORNA compliance officer. 5, the SORNA compliance officer will coordinate with the Bois Forte Police Department to personally serve the offender with the notice of exclusion. 6, if the individual challenges the exclusion per the requirements of the notice of exclusion, the SORNA compliance officer, in coordination with the tribal prosecutor, shall review the challenge, determine whether the offender satisfies the definition of a sex offender under the SORNA code, and shall make a recommendation to the RTC regarding disposition of the challenge. The RTC shall determine in its sole discretion whether exclusion should be upheld or reversed based on the challenge submitted. And finally, be it further and finally resolved that the SORNA compliance officer, in coordination with the tribal prosecutor, shall develop a notice of exclusion that complies with the requirements of this resolution for use in enforcing section 803B of the SORNA code.
Any further discussions or questions from council?
Yeah, just one, and because I'm still serving my first year, my 4-year term. Has any work like this ever been tried in the past of with the banning of non-band member sex offenders? Has that ever been discussed in past administrations or?
I'm not aware of anything.
Okay, that's just all. I just wanted to know.
I know that previously, we talked about and it was raised in a meeting before about banishing all sex offenders off the reservation. And can you elaborate on that, Jeff, the legal concerns?
Sure. So, you know, the anytime there's an exclusion, the tribes, well, I guess I'll step back. So, the tribes' authority to exclude and banish is inherent in tribal sovereignty, right? I mean, it's well established that tribes have the authority to exclude. The legalities around it and the issues with it have primarily come in the context of whether when a tribe has excluded, there's been opportunity for the person to challenge it. So it gets into due process considerations, notice and an opportunity to be heard on it. This process that Miranda read through includes, notice and an opportunity to be heard. It includes due process protections. The other issue with respect to, band members can be if there's an exclusion where if a band member has, property interests on reservation, whether they own land or have leases or things like that, there can be some additional complexities to banishment and exclusion that might arise for band members that wouldn't for non-band members. So that is a consideration as well. And so, this process, I think the legal benefit of it is just making sure that there's a clear, consistent, and transparent process for how this is done. That includes, due process protections. I don't know if that answers your question, Shane, but.
Yes, thank you for that. I think something just to put out there for another question to put out there, that if Bois Forte were to totally banish all sex offenders, especially including the band members that are sex offenders, do you think the outside would be upset with Bois Forte? I'm just putting that out there. You don't have to answer it, but something to think about. And that's something I thought about when we were talking about, the exclusions and all this and that, is that putting that question out there is that if we exclude all sex offenders, would the outside, like the county or on the state side, would they be upset with us, with Bois Forte? And say, well, why do they get to live without sex offenders? We have our own sex offenders. Now we got to live with theirs. You think that they'd be mad at us? That's something to think about. I know it's not a justification or a defense, but it's just something to really look at. And I must commend this tribal council for taking a stance and moving forward on this. It wasn't an easy decision. It wasn't hurry up and get done. No, there was a lot of questions that were thrown around and a lot of looking and how this is play out. How can we do this in the best interest of our band members? And to take a step in the right direction, I must commend this council on that. It wasn't easy. Believe me, it wasn't easy. And we don't have all the answers. And hopefully that as time goes on, maybe we can find other alternatives. But that's just something to think about. Any further questions from council or discussions? If no further questions or discussions, I ask for a approval of the resolution number 79-2025 SONA exclusion process. Moved by Perry. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tara. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Silent? Motion carried. Up next.
Up next, we have Brad Anderson with the financial update, Fortune Bay and Net Lake C-Store. I believe Kim is going to join Brad in the presentation, and Brad is virtual.
Good morning, Brad. Brad, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
You can now.
All
Good
right.
morning.
Kim, do you have that sheet that I had sent you?
Sorry. Is that the one you sent on Monday, Brad?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, and which one, do you want me to open up? The Netlake C-Store?
The
It's a
historical
PDF.
data.
I don't think I have it. Maybe it's farther back. Um, I'm looking for it. Oh, there it is. I found it now.
Oh.
I was looking for something like within the last few days. It was last week. Okay, let me open it. And I'll share. And if any of you have been using internet in here today, it's been really slow. Okay. Share.
All right.
I'll make it bigger for the. Come on. View. You want it bigger? Or that's everything that he has, or do you want me to make it bigger? Let's just scroll.
That should be good. What this spreadsheet shows is the operations of the Netlake store since 2007. The column on the left is the income or loss before transfers. Then you have the depreciation on the column next to that. And that gives you the loss before any transfers. So a total loss since 2007 of 4.9 million. Moving over to the next column, the transfers from Fortune Bay of 4.7 million. And then there were some transfers from the band early on. I don't have details on what that was. And then transfers from other enterprises. That was transfers from some of the other businesses, the Y Store, WEOY, would transfer that up to 2016 as well.
The transfer from the tribal government or from the band was the actual building, because we got the grant, we built the building, and then we had to transfer the asset. That's what that is.
Thank you for that information and presentation on that, Brad. The reason why you're seeing this is that a band member asked to see the financial information regarding Netlake C-Store and the monies that Fortune Bay has put into it. Now, we saw that since 2007, Fortune Bay has put $4.7 million into the Netlake C-Store to keep it open, to keep it running. And now, with that, don't get me wrong, the employees up there, they're doing a great job. They're working hard, but it's just that we as a tribal council, as a tribal government, we need to find ways to limit the amount of money that our store loses and the amount of money Fortune Bay has to sink into it to keep it open. And it's with hopes that with that small dispensary that's going to be put in there will help bring in customers to the Net Lake C-store and increase sales, it would be awesome if that the Net Lake C-store either broke even or better yet, made a profit. That would start taking off the financial burden from our casino. And that if the small dispensary doesn't do as well as we think it's gonna, then I think that we as a council need to say, well, when do we cut it? When do we stop? It's not working. And that's something that we're gonna have to meet with some of the other ones like Drew and Brad and Kim and take a real good look at this as we move forward. And hopefully that everything will turn around with the Net Lake C-store financially. Any thoughts or questions from council?
Yeah, for me, just have one, when that building first was made, I was actually one of the first employees were there. I was in high school at the time. I worked at the deli and I didn't find out like the financials of it just till today, and then reading these emails and there were a lot of things that went into why it loses money from the way it was built. If you notice, you walk in there, there's a big ceiling space where it costs more money to heat it. So that design was pretty poor. There was a lot of, well, when I worked there back in 2007, I'm not going to say any names, but there were some thefts there, but I was just a young kid, so I couldn't really say nothing. There's a lot of factors. I mean, we just, I'm just really disappointed to see this number. I know that I was only 14 or 15 at the time when these decisions were made, but Chairman Drift is right that the financial fallback shouldn't, Fortune Bay can't keep supplementing this deficit. It can't go on like that. So I like to, not that I'm patting ourselves on the back, but I really like the direction we're going financially. And band members, we are working on this. This is important. This pertains to you. This is your money. Not one person owns Bois Forte. Bois Forte is owned by 3,683 members. It's your money, so that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Perry. I know that we talked about this before as a tribal council, is that to assess our businesses is how they're doing in increments, whether it be quarterly, monthly, whatever, is that as we move forward, especially with Ushkade, is that to assess how it's doing. And if it's making a profit, great. Keep monitoring it. And if it's starting to drop down, what do we need to do to help it pick it back up, pick the profits back up? And like I said, continue to monitor the situation so that if it starts to become a financial burden, then we need to cut it. But I don't think it will. But any business that the tribe takes on, we need to do that. Or the next council, whoever it may be, needs to do that. Any other questions or comments from council?
I'd just like to say that it was always, projected as there isn't anything we can do about the Net Lake store. It will always be, in debt, but that's a service, kind of a service we're providing. I know that we utilize, remember when we were almost shut down in 2016, 17, 18, and Bois Forte put in, I don't know if it was some sort of ordinance, a resolution, or just a plan that we utilize the store as much as possible, not going out to other vendors, that kind of thing. I don't see a huge jump in that, but that at least you tried to prepare and bring some profit to the Net Lake C store. I know the location is, bad for off reservation flow or traffic, but it's a good, it's a location for us to access. But I know that it's always been told by other council members, you know, it's needed. We can't just close that store, you know. So in every effort that we're making is to clean up the processes, any leaks of funding, or trying to increase the profit so it's self-sustaining. I don't know if that will ever happen, but we're looking towards cleaning that up a little bit. Yeah, the building structure isn't the greatest, but we're assessing every single thing we can for the Net Lake C store. And let's hope that the cannabis sales help the store. But that's all I have to say is I do not like to look at these kinds of numbers, but I know the reason behind them. You know, if we lost this store, if we didn't have it open, you know, what a loss to the community that would be, especially with you know, the gas sales. Thanks.
Thank you, Tara. Any other questions from council?
What, I'm just joking, but I always thought it'd be cool if the, like, cause White Earth has like their convenience stores, they have slot machines. I'm not saying we could do that, but I always thought that'd be a cool idea to try draw people there. I'm just saying, just a thought, food for thought.
Yeah, that's actually a good suggestion. I did recommend that a while back, and it was deemed that it wasn't feasible to do. If no further questions or discussions from council,
Oh,
Kim?
I was just gonna say, when MSC sat right here, they did look at putting slot machines. You remember that had the garage on there? But because of the number of machines and like, and technology's changed now too, and I don't know all the mix, so let's, you know, they looked at doing that, but because you had to have so many staff in there to cover, for internal controls and the number of machines, it didn't pan out, so I knew that but that was probably 25 years ago.
I know that some of the recommendations, you know, that came forth, that I pushed for was especially was the inventory control regarding the cigarettes. And the other thing too is I made the recommendations of putting a drop ceiling in there. You know, Perry talked about it too. It's just that, you know, you have that big ceiling up there. So when the heating bill comes in, you have to heat that area up there before it heats down here. So if we put a drop ceiling in it, will that help cut the cost? And I know that at one time the council was talking about putting some solar panels up there at the Net Lake C store to help bring down the electricity cost. And because when you gotta keep that building air conditioned, you gotta keep that area up there cool as well down here, and that drives up the expense. So we are looking at every possible avenue to help our Net Lake C stores to ensure that it stays open for our band members because it is convenient to have it right there. Any further discussions from council? If not, thank you, Kim. Thank you, Brad.
Welcome.
Up next, Miranda.
Up next, we have Elizabeth E.J. Deegan with, you might as well stay right there, Kip, with some Fortune Bay requests.
I'm gonna take that over for EJ as well. All right, can you see my screen?
It's pretty small. Can't even, it's just, you need to enlarge it or whatever.
That better?
That's a little better, Brad, but if you could go even more, that would be
Even more? All right.
good. Little more.
Can you send that to the tribal council and also Miranda and Kim Garner in an email, just so we have it? Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, just as a little backup, I know, Miranda, you had reached out to EJ to ask about some of the projects we had talked about back in December, that the government money could help Fortune Bay with.
I did, this was discussed at the Monday morning weekly update meeting with council. And it was discussed back in December. We were wondering kind of what happened with it, discovered we had never, tribal government had never approved any of the expenses. And so council asked if EJ would be able to come on today and provide, the priorities, request the priorities to be purchased. And so this is what EJ has sent, correct?
Right, and these are, we had met briefly yesterday to kind of come up with kind of the, the big high priority ones. The first is the IT, the Versa upgrade. That is the hotel computer system. It's something that's has to happen anyway, since our current system is reaching end of life, so it's upgrading. And that is happening this spring, to be completed before we start getting busy in May. The second thing is the surveillance cameras, just to have some extra cameras in case some go down. This also includes new cameras for the marina area. I believe this also includes the Net Lake C-Store camera upgrade. And then the third thing on there is the sound system. The sound system in the casino is unreliable, and it's been worked on so many times that, wiring is bad. We've been patching together fixes here and there, but there's frustration from guests who are at the casino for drawings, and and they can't hear announcements or hear winners, or so it is something that's very important for our guests. And EJ did comment that the surveillance cameras does include the Net Lake C-Store as well.
So with that, is that all you got there, Jeff, or Brad? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you have any questions on anything specific, I can try to answer them for you.
So with that request there, Kim, I know that we talked about taking monies out. I can't remember specifically what pot of monies we were going to take it out from. You remember?
Again, what is SLFRF?
Sorry, my mic wasn't on. I apologize. So now if you look from December to now, what's happening at the federal government? So I'm going to throw out an idea for a short-term thing. Is in 2 weeks, the continuing resolution is going to end. We don't know. There's lots of theories floating out there, right? You know, like it's all Republican. There isn't going to be, you know, they're going to pass the budget. It's going to be, you know, like that. There's the other theory that the Democrats are going to try and take a stand and get some of the Republicans to cross the aisle and vote and hold up the budget because of all the uncertainty right now, you know. So we have been working on a financial contingency plan. So one of the things you want to do right now is to hoard cash, you know, make sure you have a lot of cash on hand, because if they get into a long drawn shutdown, you know, we have money to continue services and operate, right? So this is my suggestion is, and it also helps with the SSBCI program, is in the interim, and I know, and so what that happens is they would access our funding for the SSBCI. Not all of it, you know, like a portion, you know, this amount here, we apply for it. So then we put the CDs up, you know, because we put the CDs up, guarantee the loans from Fortune Bay. They make the payments, and once we get past that continuing resolution issue, then we could go back and pay that debt off with the tribal ARPA. But those SSBCI funds is a revolving fund, so it gets paid back to us, and then we can reloan it out for other businesses or other, you know, stuff like that. It's just so
No.
there's a lot of stuff. You know, I briefly, and I had emailed Jeff, and I had just very, very briefly, told Tara my idea, just briefly, you know, so we haven't really discussed it much. And then, I did check with Jeff, and that is because the tribal ARPA dollars would be unrestricted if we could pay off the debt.
So now, talking about that SCB money that you're talking about, what is the time frame for that if we did want to use that? Access that?
I think we have to have some obligated in by September 30th, 2025. And I believe we have a meeting with Treasury and Jared. The last council meeting you had asked me about it. And I had said last week, I had the weeks wrong. I think it's, I have to look at my calendar. I think it's tomorrow, maybe even. And then we'll get more of that, you know, going. So we're using our program, showing it's being used. We're helping Fortune Bay, and we're also, you know, managing our cash to get through a possible government shutdown.
So I think, you know, learning from what happened back in December and all the ball was dropped, is that we need to schedule something immediately after we find out about the continuing resolution for funding. And that we need to set up a meeting so that if we do access this funding that's available to us, then we need to pay that off quickly. And that this needs to be put on the tribal council agenda, calendars, and that this gets taken care of ASAP.
And I do have a meeting with SSBCI tomorrow with Treasury and Jared from North Span.
Okay. Thank you for that. Sounds good. Any questions from tribal council or any further discussions from Kim? Anything from Brad in Fortune Bay?
I don't have anything else.
So with that being said, do we want to ask for a motion? Actually, we need a motion to approve what Kim just explained to us. Can you explain what you just said so that we can put that into a motion?
I would suggest that you make a motion for Fortune Bay to access the SSBCI funds to make capital improvements. And the other thing is that they have to talk to, you have loan covenants from the bank too. And we have to get that cleared and they have to do an application process to start that. And then we'll go from there.
And then also to keep Jeff in the loop on us so that he can answer any and all legal questions for that. So I call for a motion to that effect.
Okay, for this total amount of these three,
That's.
I need amounts.
Yeah.
I need exactly where it's coming from, and this is not the way I like to do this.
Yeah. No, and I'm just throwing out a suggestion. I'm not saying, there's a whole process behind it. It's not like you guys do this and we cut Fortune Bay a check. They have to go through the whole application process. You're basically just telling Fortune Bay to access that program first. And if this is what they feel is their priority, and that's what the council feels their priority, tell them only that.
Jeff, do we need to put that into a resolution?
I don't think so, only because if at the end of the day, Fortune Bay accesses these funds, it goes through the SSBCI application process coordinated by Northspan, and it'll come back to the council for ultimate approval at the end of the day anyways. So, you know, you'll get approval authority on the back end of this. So if you want to move forward now, I think you could either, I don't know if you have to have any formal action other than just, letting Fortune Bay know that they should coordinate with the tribal government to explore accessing the SSBCI funds. It's kind of my thought.
Is tribal council okay with that, having Fortune Bay apply for the SSBCI program? Any questions, Perry?
Yeah, when we discussed it last year, I was under the impression that we were going to use that funding to pay off the Y-Store loan. We didn't decide on it, but we
No.
discussed it.
And so this is a short, so my vision of this solution is that we would access it and probably be like a 6-month access, and then we pay it off, and then they can reapply again and reuse the funds. And I'm just trying to, like when we discussed it last year, how different everything was funding wise on the federal government. And in just the last 6 to 8 weeks, how much everything has so changed.
I think that one thing is that once we get done, they apply for it, they get it. Fortune Bay applies for it and gets it. And then we get past this continuing resolution and it's approved and everything's fine. Then we turn around and pay it off. Then we can turn around and reapply for it again to pay off the Y-Store loan. Then start the process of turning it into trust. But until then, is the council can the council give Fortune Bay the approval to apply for the program, the SSBCI program? Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Solid. Motion carried. So there you go, Brad and EJ. You guys can go ahead and access the SSBCI program. Also to keep in mind that once we get past this continuing resolution date and we know where we're at, we need to set up a meeting right away so that this doesn't get dropped again.
All right, thank you.
And I need that to be in a formal process, if you could work with Fortune Bay on that, because these figures, you know, they're very high. And I want to know when we can access that SSBCI money again and how quickly it can be paid off. This needs to be a formal justification process. Not just sending us a spreadsheet of what you'd like. I need this to be justified and then a payment plan of when you're gonna have this paid off. So then we can get the Y score taken care of. Miigwech.
Yes, thank you for that, Carol. Any further questions? Anything else, Miranda?
I have nothing else.
If nothing else, I ask for a motion to adjourn at 11:21. Is there a motion?
Move.
Moved by Tara, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Perry, all in favor, say aye. Opposed? Sally? Motion carried. Thank you, everybody. Gigo Opperman.